Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting deaths in our island, I announced as Shadow Public Safety Minister my intention to form up a task group of willing and able persons to examine and identify the Bermuda crime profile, the causes of gun shootings, and to determine trends, to assess the psychology of offenders of violent crime, to plot a set of prevention responses to our incidents of violent deaths, to identify the main ways guns and bullets enter Bermuda, and to make recommendations to the party leader of the Progressive Labour Party for use in the country's fight to stop shootings and to cut off the supply of weapons and bullets into our island. This afternoon, I am joined by the task group members to introduce ourselves to the public at large, advise you of our mandate, to invite both specialist and general public participation to help make this task group's work both penetrating and effective. We shall go about our work by examining existing data, information from various sources, including public information and, where permitted, internal documents that point to relevant data and information that will inform our work. Key to our work will be direction and guidance from the public, law enforcement, the courts, and persons in our communities where the impact of violence is or has been prevalent. And so now I am pleased to introduce members of the task group. First, the Honourable Michael A. Weeks, JPMP, Shadow Minister of Community and Cultural Affairs and Sports, with a background in social work. Mr. Christopher Webson, who is a committed and passionate young man about the work of the task force, who has a degree in psychology, and former Police Superintendent Larry Smith, to my left, former head of the Narcotics Department of the Bermuda Police Service. And so I'm very happy to now have introduced the task group. We will set about our work, but this afternoon I'm very pleased to make this statement of purpose, of the mandate, and to introduce the task group who will get about our work directly. I'd be happy to allow any member of my task group. We're all equal partners in this task group, making a contribution to make a statement if they choose, and thereafter we'll take questions. Christopher Webson. Yes, W-E-B-S-O-N.
Any questions, or should we just?
This is the main statement, but
Good afternoon, everyone. As Minister Scott, as Shadow Minister Scott had said, my name is Michael Weeks. I was delighted to be a part of this task force because I think once and for all we have to try to address the causes, the root causes of what we are facing with violence in our communities. And one thing I could bring to the table is that we have an idea that we have to try to engage a lot of the community clubs and the schools in the area, because we have to try to get this arrested at the front end rather than always at the back end. So one of the ideas that we have is to sit with some of the presidents of our various sporting and community clubs, go into our schools, especially elementary and middle schools and high schools, and really put together a program of addressing the situation that's needed.
thanks, Michael. Chief?
I think the unfortunate thing is that it has taken some time to get into the mess that we're in right now with the shootings and the violence and the dilemma that the island faces. And I'm convinced that the dilemma of violence and antisocial behavior is not going to be fixed by passing a bevy of new laws and regulations. And since it has occurred over a period of time, do not expect a quick fix. And so we are going to meet as regular as stipulated, as we need to to try to come to grips with the things that made Bermuda a very peaceful island of the past. And I believe that culturally, we need to get into the family units to try to find out exactly what seems to be the cause of these young people being lost to society. Many of them are crying out for help. And I think this task force can assist to arrest that cry of these young folk that's out there. We know that some do not wish to be in the situation they currently are. And so one of our objectives would be to go out and reach out to them individually and collectively. And that is my prayer.
Thank you. Take the mics.
I'm definitely going to be taking a real in-depth look at the psychology profile of these offenders that are committing these acts of gun violence. I don't want it to get to the point where the individual feels that they have to retaliate and get a gun, shoot someone. No, I think we should intercept these people beforehand, whether we go into the schools, we make more use of media, we go to these clubs around the island. We need to identify what environmental factors, what the hereditary of these individuals, and just really look at what behaviors they're exhibiting so that we can combat this issue.
Thank you. Questions? Charles, thank you for that question. And as I was moved to strike up this task group, I, of course, faced that very question. But what is required is commitment and consistency. And Bermuda's Ills, as the superintendent has just indicated, Bermuda's Ills formed up over a period of both dissonance and lethargy. And God will reward men who put their shoulders to the wheel and continue to be consistent in addressing this. It will not go away with throwing our hands up in the air. So we press on where each there are two experienced ministers, there's a highly experienced law enforcement officer, there's a committed young person. That combination of talent will simply come together to be tested to see if we can break through.
Right, I have a statement I want to add to that as well. We are going to have some success. As long as we're willing to get out there, do the work, not just fill out a report, we're going to have some level of success. I feel just as a young person, I just see I grew up basically around people who, maybe not necessarily guns, but, drugs, people committing acts of violence, vandalism, antisocial behavior, whatnot. So I feel if we go out there, we finish writing our proposal, do our reports, meet with the community, we will have some kind of impact. And the longer that we work on this issue, and don't just make excuses, for not getting out there. We have to actually get out there and get community involvement, and not just here, in front of the press. We have to actually go towards the troubled individuals. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that real quick, Mr. Webb, if I may. I think I agree with you that there have been other initiatives, much like this one. But I'd like to say that we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. This is a situation that is plaguing our country. So anything that any of us do to help will be a help. So I'm not one to sit up here and say that we're going to do something any different. What we're going to do is look what is not working, to look at what is not working. Look at some of the past initiatives. Look for that common thread in those different investigations and see what we can do to finally make this a reality, because we are facing a dire situation, so we have to do something.
Are you working in tandem with the Minister of Public Safety and for example with Mr. Smith, how the commissioners meet and
I think we all work together. This press conference will reinforce the earlier statement I made that the public safety minister is aware of. I haven't called him up to let him know or to seek his assistance yet, but as I said, we will have to work with the community, the government, the law enforcement, the schools. We'll have to work with a great number of people. And I'm grateful for what my colleagues have been saying. We'll achieve a great deal if the many good reports and analyses that have gone on thus far have some life breathed into them, and that will be one of our central tasks. Jay?
I have a question. Looking at what's going on, and Mr. Webson said, you don't want them to get to a point where, I guess what you're trying to say is picking up a gun is a natural choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I would venture to say that we're past that, pretty much. Like, so my thing is, how do you get them, and I know you don't want you to reveal your whole plan, but how do you get them to even trust you in order to divulge some information that you may need? And secondly, a big part of it is wealth and feeling disenfranchised. So is part of this task force going to be to also offer and or tangibly offer solutions? Because a lot of them are just jaded. They feel like they have no hope. So are you going to work in collaboration with other helping organizations? So for example, if my problem is because I'm frustrated because I can't get a job because I'm uneducated, are you going to help me to get my GED?
I think, sure. Thanks for that question. Just as you recognize what the problems are, the disenfranchisement, the disparities in wealth, the poor scoring in either jobs, schooling, or housing that lead to poor behavior. Just as you recognize that, that's out there because it's publicly known. And our job, our task will be to be uniquely responsive to or effectively responsive to these well-known causes of the front-ended problems that we have. And there is an opportunity to shape it'll be unique to Superintendent Smith, Michael Scott, Minister Weeks, and Christopher Webson. It'll be unique to our intellectual ability to both consider this problem and make recommendations.
And what is Mr. Webson's qualifications? I mean, you're a doctor, Mr. Webson?
No.
No. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Of being working over the past few years. I have done some work as a crisis helpline operator and working with people with mental issues. My role here is I'm to work with the task force group. I will definitely consult all the professionals as well within the community and whatnot. So.
One more. Why are there no females?
I'll better answer that question because I formed up the group.
They hide
The woman's perspective is needed. The woman's perspective should be on this group. As you can see, we're a tight and small group, and there is space for the woman's perspective. And as we go along, we will reach out, include in membership any willing Bermudian woman who wishes to assist us. Thanks for the question and the reminder.